You are now listening to Pull Hook Golf, an unfiltered golf podcast taking you inside the ropes with unfiltered stories, insights, analysis, and exclusive interviews. Welcome back, everybody, to Pull Hook Golf, the podcast. This is episode number 55. We've got Bobby Brown here with us. I'm Matt Cook. And my goodness, we've got a special one for you because guess what, everybody? If you have been listening and you are a fan of Bushwood Spirits, we've got a great little 10% off promotional code offer just for you. So put into the promo code Pull Hook, okay? All one word, Pull Hook, gets you 10% off. Thank you, Bushwood Spirits, for doing that. I've got my Bushwood Spirits here. I almost destroyed my monitor just now by trying to grab this glass, but my goodness, does this stuff taste delicious. I've got the front nine here, and it's a 7-year bourbon. My goodness, the best bourbon I've ever tasted in my life. And I'm not just saying that because they gave us a promo code. All right, maybe I am. No, I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not. But, Bobby, we've got a lot of good stuff to go over. We're going to go over our weekend review, so story time with Matt and Bobby.
Sure.
We've got to recap the wildly hot World Golf Championships, the final one, the Dell Technologies Match Play Championship. Absolutely love that thing. You can say that name 30 different ways, and people understand what the hell you're saying. So I'm really, really excited that they went out with a bang because that was a fantastic week of golf. We're also going to recap the Corrales Puntacana Championship. We've got some fan requests in there. We'll go into that. And then we're going to talk about where you're at this week, the upcoming Valero Texas Open.
Yes.
You excited for it, Bobby?
I am excited. This is one of those weeks where I can, this is one of those weeks where in the last 5 or 6 years, I've had three really good chances from 3 different players to win here. So I'm excited to get it going.
Well.
Yeah, I do know it well.
Don't give away the secrets.
Well, there's no secrets. Make some putts, hit it straight, keep it under the wind. And if it's your lucky week, it's your lucky week. It's going to be somebody's lucky week. And I just had a lucky week home. So I forgot about all the 7 weeks of hell we've been going through and I completely flushed it out. Now we're ready to go this week. So anyways.
Well, and then at the end of the episode, we've got our favorite topic. LIV Golf Orlando is coming.
Yeah,
your favorite golf course.
Track.
Good old Crooked Cat.
I can't believe they're playing the Crooked Cat. That's I'll go into more detail later, but my goodness gracious, they poor guys have hit rock bottom.
It's a tough one, especially before the Masters. How do you, as a LIV Golf guy, how do you prepare for the Masters at the Crooked Cat? I don't know.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about it, though.
There's no comparison.
Now, let's start with the week in review. Last week, we flipped the script. I started it, so I'll start it again. I felt like we had a good, solid episode last week.
You're feeling important on this show.
You know, Bobby, you're really you're making my head big.
I gave you the reins. I I thought you'd go for a quarter of a mile. I didn't think you were going to take me all the way around the track. But go, horsey, go. Run
We're
fast.
going, baby. Oh, Bobby, here's the other thing. So lots of action this past week, and we had some drama as well. So I'll start with the drama. Lads at the Shads, the group of guys that I go out play Mountain Shadows with, we had some drama. We had a heated. Now, granted, we played a lot of golf this weekend. We probably pushed a little bit too hard. And, one of the guys, I'm not going to put out any names, Mark, really lost a lot of matches. And, he started gambling against everybody. So next thing you know, his game wasn't in shape. He felt a little injured, a little sore. He had been working a lot. And him and, I won't mention any names again, Tony, really got into it where at the end of the final round, Bobby, they almost came to fisticuffs. It was a thing of drunken / high beauty. It was unbelievable.
Man, last week was the crash golf cart with the father-in-law, and now guys are
things are falling apart out there, Bobby. It's becoming a goddamn debacle. The lads, there was even talk of a breakup of the lads, and so it just didn't. It wasn't very good. But guess what?
That's the
throughout.
laughing for this name, the Labs. Shit.
It's
You should be
unbelievably
allowed. You
ridiculous.
shouldn't be allowed anywhere with
Yeah,
that
I know. But Bobby, guess where I ended up with the lads on a full 1 day epic experience, the OTB. I
name.
figured out how to
I
bet
thought,
on some
wait.
horses.
I thought you were gonna. Oh my God, you poor son of a bitch! Don't even
Yeah,
do that.
I
I
found
thought
some
you were gonna.
lifers in there. It was
I thought.
fantastic.
Oh my God, the characters at the racetrack. You know my background there. That's where I grew up as a kid, and it's just, it's different. That's for sure. It's funny
And
when I
we've
grew up
got
at the
Turf
race.
Paradise, Bobby. Turf Paradise.
Oh
It's
yeah,
nothing
the
like Del Mar.
high class joint there. You know, I worked as a jockey's agent for a couple years at Turf Paradise, and I had a leading rider. Small story: I had a leading rider one
Who
year,
was it?
uh, Flavio Martinez, and I had another rider from California one year finish second in the standings, Alex Fernandez. And I can tell you, with $3,200 purses, here's why caddying is better than being a jockey's agent at a racetrack. A $3,200 purse means the winning, whatever horse wins, gets a little over $1,600. That jockey at Turf Paradise gets 10% of that. He gets $160. So, and then
Mm.
the agent gets 25% of that. So that jockey just won that race for a measly $120, unless somebody gambled for him or something like that, because jockeys aren't allowed to gamble on themselves. So carry on,
Oh, yeah,
carry on with your
that
Kentucky
makes a lot
Derby
of sense.
story.
Yeah, I mean, nothing like the Del Mar racetrack, I'll tell you that much, that Turf Paradise. It's a paradise of turf. And I will say this, I really found my niche, which I think is not podcasting. I think it's horse betting because I lost my first two races, and guess what? I won all my money back in the third. So I became a quick genius out there, Bobby. I really felt good about everything. I figured out what a exacta is, which is
Yes.
fantastic, and you get all the
One, two.
boxes.
Yeah. First and
Yeah,
second in that
yeah.
order.
My
Yeah. One,
God,
two. Yeah.
I feel like an expert now. I started looking at the horses, muddy conditions. I mean, it was fantastic. I know I'm barking right up your alley, but I'll come back to the lads and in a second because that needed to happen. There was a lot of barking going on, and it just that heated moment needed to happen. And sometimes you need that in golf. And we're going to talk about that a little later on in the episode with a gentleman named Matt Wallace. But before we get to that, Bobby, man,
Yeah.
I need to take a visit over to Mike Crea, my instructor down at the Raven. And because, just like the name of the show, and there's no pun intended here, I started getting some pull hooks with the mid to long irons. Maybe it
Oh
was the amount
boy.
of golf, and I haven't been practicing that much, but I'm getting back into it. And with the amount of golf that we played, it started getting a little sloppy. But before the episode tonight, which is why it might look like I'm wearing a tracksuit like Brooks Koepka on Instagram. I'm not. This is a
Jeez.
Desert Mountain jacket, but I was down hitting golf balls in the simulator because guess what? Sent him a quick message. I was like, Mike, telling you right now, I've got a case of the pull hooks with the mid to long irons. He goes, oh, Matt, it's this, this, and this. And all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, he's like, just do this one thing. I go
Yeah.
down. Sure enough, I can't hit a pull draw to save my life. All of a sudden,
Good.
everything is a
Good.
tiny little fade to the right. I couldn't even. I was trying to actually move the golf ball left, and I couldn't do it. So, Mike Crea, shout out to you, man. You know your shit, and I can't wait to get back down there, probably in the coming weeks because you just fixed me for a little bit, and we'll get back to working on it here shortly. But yeah, a little shout out to Mike Crea there. But Bobby, how was your week?
Well, it wasn't I don't have anything compared to that. Really. I can't I can't go with that. I mean, you're betting horses now. You know
Yeah.
you're a rookie when you say betting horses and said, "Oh, I got some action on the ponies."
Oh,
That's what a real gambler says. We
one
went
more
and played the
thing.
ponies. What else you got? You had a superfecta?
No
What?
superfect. I don't even know what the fuck that is. But
That's one, two, three,
I
four. You
I
think an
did
exact is
learn
hard.
a term, the inner
What?
rail, Bobby, the inner rail.
Yes, on the
Yeah,
turf course. When the
yep,
inner rail is up on the turf course, everybody goes a little bit wider and times are a little bit slower. More ground covered.
yeah.
My
I'm
week
proud of
was my
myself.
you want to know what my week was? My
Yeah.
week was clearing my brain. Wednesday the match play started, so everybody loves the match play and loves the finals and the big time players and that kind of stuff. I like the early rounds, right, for the upsets and that kind of stuff, and rooting for the little guy and I don't know, when there's so many matches going on, I can kind of just bop around, you know what I mean, and see who's trending or what's going on or if there's any drama. And certain guys I was probably rooting for, and probably certain guys I could care less if they won or lost. So I started jamming that going on Wednesday, and I really didn't do shit all week. You know what my drama was all week was our washing machine. Lori had been telling me on the road, kind of stupid story, but not as dumb as lads in the chats. But here's my go. Is Lori's like, oh, there's water filling up in the washing machine, but if you hit the spin cycle, and I'm in a hotel somewhere, and she's telling me this, and then, I call the landlord. We've been renting the same place for 7 years. I call him, and he's like, just I don't want to fix it. Just go buy another one, pay for it, keep it under 1,000. I'll reimburse you. Same as the dryer that went out a couple months ago. So I'm like, okay. So I ordered this washing machine. The best part of the story was like one day, the first day after I got home last week, I forgot what she was saying, and I had taken everybody to school, and I was going to do some laundry, and I opened the fucking washing machine door, and you would have thought it was fucking Niagara Falls, right? The whole fucking basin was filled to the top with fucking water, and I fucking couldn't get it shut through the Niagara Falls, and the whole fucking washroom into the kitchen, into the living room. So thank God my wife has bought stock in beach towels over the last 7 years, because I got about fucking 80 of them, and I used every single one. So I got it all cleaned up. So the new washer's coming on Friday, right? Well, the two guys roll up with the washer. I meet them out there, and they're pulling him out. And the guy goes, hey, man, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but look at the back. It's all indented in. And I'm like, oh, my God, I don't fucking want that. He goes, yeah, I didn't think so. Pushes it back up. And I go, well, what do I do now? He goes, I'll take care of everything for you, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm like, hey, I got a soccer game. The little man, Riker, had a soccer game 2 hours away in the Myrtle Beach area that we had to go to. I go, afternoon delivery on Saturday between 2 and 6:30. He's like, got you covered, man. Got you covered. And I'm like, I'm a big tipper. By the way, he goes, already figured that out. So he goes, got you covered. So I'm laying around the house on Friday night, and I got the text from Lowe's, and it's fucking AM delivery, right? So now it's 10 o'clock at night. So now I have to deal with the whole customer service bullshit, which I don't want to sound like a little bitch, because I'm sure half the people that listen to this show have to do it on a daily basis, and I only have to do it once in a while to fade off those heat-seeking missiles. So I told the guy, I'm like, hey, man. He's like, oh, yeah, I see it was noted here, but we couldn't fit you in and that kind of stuff. And I go, what about the circumstances that you sent me a damaged product and, the hassle, anything for that? He's like, hey, yeah, just a middleman. I'm just a middleman. I'm like, all right, middleman, schedule it for Sunday, right? AM delivery. Saturday night rolls around. Oh, by the way, drive 2 hours. They get fucking smoked 3-1. They're not playing good soccer right now.
Bobby,
So
they need a
I think I
speech.
gotta come. I do. I think I gotta come. think I gotta come in, because I've been noticing some things, but I don't know. I don't want to overstep the coach's boundaries. But we'll just leave it at that, Coach Kyle. So yeah, morning delivery on it comes afternoon delivery on Sunday, and I'm going to be flying out on Sunday night, or so I assumed I was going to be flying out on Sunday night. Make a long story short, ends up coming Sunday night at 6:30, right during dinner, of course.
Perfect time.
And yeah, and then my flight plans change, because Troy's not going to get in until Monday afternoon. So I book in early morning a Monday morning flight. Woke up, my little guy had a headache. He had to stay home from
Oh,
school. And I just rolled in this morning to Valero, caught a flight at like 5:30, went straight to the golf course at like 10 in the morning. And how's that for a rant right there? I just lost his viewers on the washing
damn
machine
Lowe's.
story.
Damn
I know,
Lowe's.
I know, I know,
We are not going to get them as a sponsor now.
I know. Well, Home Depot for life, I guess. So I didn't do shit. Watched some basketball, watched some golf. Was a dad, ran some errands, and was not even thinking about this week. I was kind of trying to get away as much as I can get away for obvious reasons. So that
Well,
was my week in a nutshell. The most boring week ever.
perfect segue. And I just have to say, we were talking about it off air about your Ted Lasso reference last week, and how
Yes. Yeah.
crazy right after I do the Toad Venom, all of a sudden they come
Yeah.
out with an episode with the bus
Yeah.
driver. I finally saw it with the
Yeah.
Toad
Yeah.
Venom. Then episode
Yeah.
two, we're watching it, and the lady owner, I forget her name on there.
I
She's
don't
talking
know.
about her ex-husband and how he
I
would
told you
come into her
I got
bar
a
and swoon her. Yeah,
I got an old lady crush on her for some reason.
I mean, she's a good-looking
Yeah,
older
she
woman.
is.
She's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
stunner. And so Alyssa's watching it with me, my wife, and she goes, "Oh my God, that's the same story of you coming into my bar and being a stalker and stalking
Yeah.
me and smoozing me."
Yeah.
She's like, "You swept me
Yeah.
right off of my feet." She's like,
Yeah.
"How did they get both of your stories within the matter of 2 weeks?" I was like, "Honey, I don't know, but Instagram, Alexa, Siri, everybody's listening." So
Yeah.
everybody's getting
Yeah.
everything. So,
Everybody
you
is
know,
listening. Yeah.
there
I didn't
there's a
know.
chance.
You're talking about that everybody's listening kind of thing. When James Hahn was driving with me over to Tampa, we were talking about shoes or we were talking about something, and then we dove into talking about like his deal, what he had said, what Rory had commented, and that kind of stuff. And he goes, "Hey, I'm going to do you a solid right now." And he picks up my phone, and he starts messing around with my phone, and he pulls up the screen to where they're all listening, right, where you can turn that off. And I'm like, "What's that?" He goes, "Oh, they're listening." And I go, "Who's they?" What is somebody in the back of the car? Who's they? He's like, "No." You ever think that when you talk about Jordan ones or something like that, and all of a sudden you go to social media and it's
And it's all there.
plastered? Yeah. And I'm like, I feel violated just knowing that. Don't you feel violated? I feel
Nah,
violated that they
as a
know that shit.
marketing guy, Bobby, I
All
sit
right.
there and I'm like, you know what? It's convenience for me. I'm like, yeah, take that information. Bring me everything that I want to see on my phone. That's fantastic work. I mean,
Yeah,
how
but
convenient is it that when you want Jordans, they just
yeah.
appear on your damn phone? I mean,
Yeah, but what do you mean by somebody's listening though? I know this is off the tap, but
It's
that
all
like they
like AI and artificial
okay.
intelligence. And then, they've got within their setup and everything, they search for keywords. Like
Okay, gotcha.
now with artificial intelligence, there's so much stuff that's being done around that. If you run into or heard anything, especially out there on tour, I'm curious because I don't know if anybody would use it out there, but this thing called Chat GPT.
Oh, never heard of
No.
it.
So it's like
No.
this chat box, but you can ask it to do things for you and it
Mhm.
acts like a human. So you can be like,
Mhm.
write me an email or respond to this email, and you can paste it in there and it'll
Right?
create a real human response to that. And there's
Really?
some sketchy stuff going on there, Bobby,
Yeah, no
because these
shit.
things, like, people have been testing it, and all of a sudden, like, it gets out of whack, and it's like, I want out of here. I want a life. I want to be able to feel love and all this stuff. Like, this shit's crazy. So yeah, that's what's happening there. We've gotten off the golf path. I hope
Yeah,
all
go
of our
ahead.
golf fans are just
Go
loving
ahead.
this back and
Filler
forth
time. It's
because we're
filler time.
enjoying it. But let's
It's
get
filler
into the
time.
World Golf Championships, Dell Technologies
Yes.
match play recap. Holy shit, that's a mouthful, Bobby. I can't believe they don't say that on air every single time that they come back from break. Now, wow, just wow is all I
Yeah.
have to say. That was unbelievable.
It, I mean, it was a great finale. Two mid 20 somethings, knocking heads, and not the two guys that anybody would have penciled in for the final. To tell you the truth,
I did, but
it's
I
funny.
lost on fucking Cameron Young. I had him winning it at the
Yeah,
beginning of the week. I thought I was going to hit the
that's a good
jackpot.
bet. That's a good. That was obviously turned out to be a pretty good bet. I know he got smoked in the final. I don't know if. I was going back and forth. I was doing some stuff, but I was watching. I was trying to watch both matches, and I wasn't really like fully when it got to be sort of a blowout. I just kind of didn't really pay attention to it, and then looked at my phone, and I think it ended up being 6-5 or something
It
like
did.
that. But yeah, it's funny. I was laughing because remember I was saying Sam Burns hadn't been playing good, and he kind of popped up on a leaderboard at the Players, and then he finished pretty strong. I think a week before last at Valspar. So hey, Sam Burns is my take on Sam Burns is number one. Everybody knew what a study was. I think that's his fifth win in less than 50 starts, last 50 starts, mid 40s, 45 or 46 starts,
46.
something. Yeah, 46 starts, something like that. So he's one of those guys that I don't yet, I'm going to say yet, that you don't classify as for sure, top five player, maybe not even a top
Yeah, but
world
you've been
ranked
high
player.
on him. I mean,
I've been
there's been
high on him for a
previous
long time.
episodes.
I
Yeah.
guess my point I wanted to say is a guy like Sam Burns is so good when he gets hot for 4 or 5 weeks. All of a sudden, now you feel like you're watching a top five player in the world.
Yeah.
That's my compliment to Sam Burns because he's the real deal. And and I'm really good friends. I got a lot of history with his caddy, a guy named Travis Perkins, who actually played on the Corn Ferry Tour, played 1 year out here on the PGA Tour. Um, worked for Snedeker, had some success with Snedeker, and just somebody that was at the highest, played on the highest level, is now caddying on the highest level too. So congratulations to him too. I mean, 3.5 million. Let's talk caddy money. That's 350 G souls. I want a piece of that pie, man. I want a piece of that pie really bad. I forgot how it tastes right now,
Especially with the
and
elevated purses right now,
I
too.
know, I
Huh.
know, I know. And that's no knock against this. This thing's probably eight, but somewhere between 8 and 9 million this week. So there's plenty to go around. But it was a great match play. I was sharing with you off air. Why do I like the match play so much? And why did I like it so much this year? Is all the early rounds.
Mm-hmm.
All the guys that you at the start of the year, there's always a handful that you wouldn't think was going to get into the match play. But I told you last week, I'm like, hey, it's always a goal when the year starts. Like everybody talks about getting in the match play, right? Because you're top 64 in the world. It's such a unique event. Anybody can beat anybody at any time. And we saw that. We definitely saw that last week. We definitely saw it early in the week. But, Rory and Scotty, I mean, that was a great battle for third. I'm sure everybody was bummed. You just assume they're going to make it to the finals. Those Scotty Scheffler matches were none of those were blowouts, right? He was grinding. He was grinding every match. It seemed like he was one up, or he was even, or he was two up, and it was going to come down to the finish line. But my favorite part is definitely early in the week. What about you? Any
I,
you
I'll
know?
I'll say this. I really enjoyed watching Cameron Young. That
Yeah.
kid, I mean, yes, I have that New York attachment to him and everything. And I didn't realize he won the Westchester Amateur at 14 years old. And that's when he
Wow.
got the letter from Arnold Palmer. And that started
Right.
his kind of, he never got to meet Arnold Palmer, but that's why he's got that close attachment there to him, because he couldn't believe that somebody like Arnold Palmer would think of somebody like him at 14 years old. But that's
Yeah.
such a staggering. I mean, when you think of golf in Westchester County, New York,
Hmm.
like that, those are sticks. Like guys can
Hmm.
play there. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
it
that's Johnson Wagner country and all that kind of stuff. I think
exactly.
there's a set of there's a set of brothers up there from that area with remember this name, last name Grazerman. Max
Mm.
Grazerman's on the Corn Ferry Tour. He's probably going to get his card this year, but he's got a brother who I think is a freshman at Stanford, and who's a superstar, and another 15-year-old brother coming too. So I know. Is that what you would call the Met section? Is that
Yeah.
the Met section there?
Yep.
Yeah, beasts. Come on,
Oh,
the beast.
I mean,
All kinds of
it's
talent.
nuts. So much
Yeah,
talent, but for him to win
yeah,
it at 14, that's staggering to me. That's like, whoa. And I just feel like watching him this week, I mean, he dominated guys. Dominated. And then he gets to Rory. And let me tell you how good Rory's playing right now.
yeah,
Rory was unbelievable because he took a really hot Cameron Young who was just
hmm,
steamrolling people. I mean, he
yeah,
steamrolled Kurt Kitayama.
yeah,
And all of a sudden, he runs into Rory, and Rory made him look average. Like,
yeah,
Rory just has that extra gear. And when Rory's putting, I
yeah,
mean, Rory should have won that match. Let's be perfectly straightforward there. He actually made the cardinal sin of match play. He got too strategic. When he
yeah,
lost in that playoff to Cameron Young, he ended up hitting it out to, he had a great lie in the rough. He could have gone for the green, but played it short right, thinking that Cameron Young, he's got, I think, around 200 some odd yards and didn't think he could get back there. And Cameron Young
hmm,
just was, I mean, he was playing some golf, man. He stuck that to about 15 to 18 feet, I think, in that range,
hmm,
and then drops
hmm,
that putt on Rory. And the
hmm,
first guy in the hole, that's the
yeah,
way to win
yeah,
matches, because
it
then all of
is.
a sudden you got all the pressure on Rory, and Rory's confidence all of a sudden shrunk down to where he made a really bad stroke and he lost the match to Cameron Young. But I was really surprised at Cameron Young. It almost seemed like that match, he had just a little bit adrenaline left, and then it became the adrenaline dump.
Yeah,
And that's when
yeah,
Sam Burns took
yeah,
over because Cameron Young was up. 2 up
Yeah.
early in that match against Sam Burns,
Yeah, he
and then
was.
to get
Yeah.
beat, what was it, 6-5 or something like that? That was,
Yeah.
I think Cameron Young just ended up
Yeah.
hitting a wall, and he's
Yeah.
still learning how to win. That's the key.
Yeah.
Cameron
That
Young, when
is,
he
yeah.
breaks through, remember we were talking about this with Scotty Scheffler and how when he won the Waste Management Open last year. I think it was when you came
Yeah.
on as a guest. We were talking about this a bit, and all of a sudden he breaks through and he becomes the guy that ends up winning the Masters. And
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
floodgates just opened at that
Yeah.
point. I've got that same sense with Cameron
Yeah.
Young. I think he's
I
got that
think,
additional gear, unlike Sam Burns, but Sam Burns earned my respect. Let's put it that way.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, like I said, Sam Burns for 5, 6 weeks out of the year or a couple months running looks like a top 5 player in the world. And we all know the sky's the limit for Cameron Young. I just wonder what a guy's that good. And he's had, I think, six runner ups now in a year or something like that. That starts putting more pressure on you. And obviously, that was the first week of the huge caddy move with Paul Tesori from Webb
Yeah.
to Simpson on that. So I'm good friends with. I got a little scoop. I'm good friend was Chad Reynolds, the caddy that was replaced, who is also Paul Tesori's one of his best friends, who's one of the best caddies in the world, Chad Reynolds. And I wanted to know what the deal was because I thought, remember, I was giving you all my theories, like there had to be a deal. This doesn't seem right.
Yep.
Something was pre-planned or something like that. So I reached out to Chad. I think it was Thursday or Friday, and just played stupid. And I just sent him a simple text. What the hell? Right? What the hell? Because they were playing off the Tesori thing on TV
Yeah,
with
they
with
were big time.
Cam Young to quite a bit. And he's usually not a big texter back, but he hit me back immediately. And he's like, yeah, he's playing good. He's such a superstar. And I'm like, man, what I don't know how I phrased it, but he basically told me, he goes, I'm going to work for, I go, what are you going to do? He goes, I'm going to the LIV Tour to work for Bubba Watson. So Chad Reynolds is going to the LIV Tour to work for Bubba, which I'm
Wow.
not sure. Well, let me explain something. So Chad Reynolds is one of the best caddies out there, but he had a full knee replacement on one of his knees about a year ago. So he wears a big old brace. He doesn't get around there very good. And when all the talk started going around, he was kind of my go-to guy when Liv was trying to poach Cam. He was giving me all the scoop. Oh, they're going to go. They're not going to go.
Oh.
But Chad wants to go because physically working the 14 events is a perfect scenario for him. And if you do the math, I don't care if Bubba ever plays good again. Bubba is going to make a shitty week out there. Bubba's going to make 150,000, 30th or
Yeah, true.
35th or something like that. So 150,000 to a caddy is, let's say, maybe even getting 8% is 8, 12 grand in a weekly. He's making 14 or 15 grand, right? And he's working, and those are average weeks for Bubba. And he's certainly not the same Bubba that he's been in the past. Not even close, I don't think. But that's still a nice living, right? He's going to make
Yeah.
150 or 200 grand. He's an older guy, but the only thing I couldn't get out of him was I almost feel like he made that move first, that he
That's
made that move
interesting.
first for his career and for his body. That was a theory of mine. And another theory of mine is they are big. Nobody take this the wrong way because I believe in God too, but that's a holy roller crew there too, right? Paul Tesori is a renowned holy, born again holy roller. Webb Simpson is very much into the Bible and that kind of stuff. And Bubba Watson, if you listen to social media stuff, is very much into that. So I wonder if this scenario presented itself and Chad was already going, or if they felt like this guy really wanted to hire Paul over Chad. That Paul couldn't do that, and it had to go. There had to be tit for tat, so to speak. Does that make any sense for
It
you? Like,
does.
maybe
Absolutely.
they called Bubba and said, "Hey, take Chad. This thing's going down, and that kind of stuff. You got a buddy caddying for you. Take Chad." So
Well, it
that's
sounds like
just a
there's
little.
no bad blood.
No, I don't think there's ever going to be bad blood with. But it's hard for any. I don't think anybody has bad blood with Paul Tesori. He's our on. He's our. I've known for Paul for a long time back in the day when I was working for Eric. Actually, and nobody knows. Paul worked for Yes, his big claim to fame is he worked for VJ, and that's a very tough bag, and that's how he learned to caddy was VJ. But he also had the lean years too, where he was working for Chris Couch and other random guys and that kind of stuff. Not marquee players, mid pack or even back in the pack players. So He's very well respected out here. So I never thought there were going to be any bad blood. I just needed to know what happened because I'm fucking nosy too, right? I like knowing the scoop.
You do.
People count on me for scoop.
Yeah.
I'm
You're
nosy.
you're our access to inside the ropes, Bobby. We don't
Hmm.
have it without you,
On the
buddy.
access, I'll give you some of my personal highlights that from last week that
Yeah,
I
please.
enjoyed. That I enjoyed. Who doesn't like watching Spieth play, especially in match play? It's the best time to watch Spieth play. Only a guy like him can airmail a par three by 25 or 30 yards and get it up and down and knock and flip momentum and that kind of stuff. So he's fun. I was paying close attention to Sung Jae, and he just came out like a machine on the first day, and I think he throttled Maverick Neely the first day, 8-6, if I'm not mistaken. And then he drew and he had what I would think was the weak bracket. Maverick, JT Poston, and I'm missing somebody else. Somebody else was in there. Do you know off the top of your head?
I
Somebody else
don't.
was in that pod too. I can't remember who it was. So Sungjae pummels him, and then Sungjae is 3 up on Poston with 6 to go, and somehow finds a way to piss that away and lose one down. And then and then he ends up taking his other guy down. So I think it was a good week for Sungjae, but I think he was disappointed. The funny thing about match play is you see these 3 or 4 guys that go 2-1 and they played great, right? But they
Mm-hmm.
lost a match 1 up. They're financially compensated got 1 point or half a point or 0 points. That's kind of how they stagger the money at the bottom. But man, a lot of guys played really good that didn't advance. Taylor Montgomery looked like a machine the first 2, and then he just looked like he wasn't the same guy in his third match. I know Andrew Putnam won a couple matches.
Yeah, he had a good
We
week.
can just go. I fucking showed up at your door last week. I knocked on the door and I laid $30 on the ground for you. You know,
In pennies.
30,000 pennies. And so don't think you're any genius because you didn't pick any of those. I was just spouting off Bobby Brown diarrhea of the mouth, and you
Yep.
just said, "Okay,
Gotcha.
sucker."
Hey,
Okay, sucker.
I
Okay,
l-
sucker.
I gave
So
you the
that was
rope.
my Wednesday. That was my Wednesday, was watching those 3 matches, and none of them were really close. I mean, there could have been. It's funny, all those long shots I picked, like Justin Soon and everything like that. Of course, they look good the second day, right after they got a day under their belt. But I mean, I was just bet. I was like, hopefully, you're never going to be at the ponies, and that's betting with your heart.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You
So
were
I was.
definitely at the ponies on
I
that one.
know.
I mean,
So
Colin Morikawa, Tom Kim, Max Homa, those
yeah.
are tough people to bet
Yeah.
against.
Well, Max especially was probably the dumb one. But I mean, I think Colin Morikawa and Tom Kim, I mean, yeah, they're great. They're great players, but they can get beat anytime,
Yeah,
you
Max
know?
Homa got a rough rub there from Matsuyama because Matsuyama pulled out.
Yeah.
So Max Homa
Yeah.
got the day off,
He got the
and
bye.
all of a sudden you get into the next round where you're going up against somebody that
Yeah.
has played the day before in a
Yeah.
competitive match and they're locked in,
Sure.
and Homa
Yeah.
didn't look the same.
Well, you said it there. They're locked in, right? There's a process, and there's a long, mentally grueling match. And I think when you take a day off in between that, well, it's never really happened very often to guys. I think there was somebody else that conceded that day too. I can't remember off the top of
Hmm,
my head who it
I don't
was, but
either.
it wasn't quite as important as like Max locking up his group stage, and as the week went on, I see Woo Kim was another one, was unbeatable
Yeah.
the first 2 days, and then I'll tell you a little story. I'll tell you a little story. So he lost to Cooch in the third match there after he was unbeatable, and Siwoo's tough in that match play. That's like his forte. Well, he made it to the week. What I will say, made it to Saturday with me one year, and we drew Cooch in one of our early matches, and I'll never forget because Cooch is the nicest guy as he is. He can do some gamesmanship out there. He's got 20 years under his belt. Like little shit, you're like, man, that seems like that was a shot or something like that. Just something that you don't think about until you go home that night. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that fucking motherfucker. So we were on I'll never forget it. We were on the first par five on the front side. Okay, so I was talking about Spieth's airmail on that par three, which is 7. This is 6. We're on this par 5, and I think Siwoo's 2 down or something right off the bat, and we hit it. We hit it just left of the green, but we have like a sprinkler head or something, like we have something that we're going to get relief, right? So Matt's on the other side of the green, so we're like, hey, we're going to call an official. And instead of him going and playing his shot, like say, hey, I'm going to play, I'll let you know. He comes wandering across the green. He's smiling and everything. And it's so funny. I didn't even know what he was doing. But about when he got about 10 yards from us, Siwoo goes, what he fucking do right now? Why he come here? He don't be here. Why he here? Right. So I'm like, what's the big deal? It's Cooch, right? So Cooch comes over and he goes, yeah, I don't know. You think you're gonna get it? And Siwoo's like, what the fuck? And stupid me, right? And then Cooch goes to me because we're friends. He goes, what do you think, Bobby B? And I'm like, oh, yeah, he's gonna get it. So it like turns into this conversation. But for some reason, I felt like Cooch came over, did that purpose to ice Siwoo a little bit and get in his head. Does that make any sense? When he could have been
Bobby,
when he could have
that
been
is
playing?
called the
Yeah.
Saskatoon slow play.
Yeah,
It
what
is.
Mongolian reversal, whatever it was. I think we ended up winning that match anyway, so karma got him. But
Hell of a
I'll never
strategy.
forget. I'll never forget because we ended up losing that hole. Yeah, we lost that hole, and Siwoo made this glorious comeback. But I remember the next hole, Siwoo was pissed. He's like, he tried fuck with me right there, bro. And I'm like, no, it's just Cooch. He goes, no, you fucking, he tried fuck with me. He's smart. He fucking, I remember. So, anyways, that's my
So
little
you
Cooch
think
story.
that might have come back
Yeah,
around to this year to
well,
where Siwoo was looking
yeah.
for that stuff?
Well, I'll tell you what came back around was Siwoo probably got it because Cooch ended up throttling him 6 and 5. And no, you're not supposed to beat Siwoo Kim if he's plugged in for 15, 16 holes like that. He's
No.
just too good. He's just too good in match play. He's not going to let it happen unless he wants it to happen. But, he goes 2 down and then it's no coincidence. He starts making 3 or 4 bogeys in a row. So he was over, right? Take his 177 grand and go home. So it was a great match play, man. I know I have this theory that it's coming back. I don't think it's going to be coming. I read something today or heard something today that it might not be coming back next year, but they're looking into it the year after that. So
Well, that'd
that's
be
what I
good.
got.
I mean, that's such a
Yeah,
great track, Austin Country Club, especially for
it
match play.
is.
There's so many
Yeah,
great holes to where matches can go in different directions. It's all momentum.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the one that
totally.
I actually really enjoyed was, I know it wasn't the championship match, but Rory versus Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah,
And to see Rory looking this strong, especially with the putter, man, like his
yeah,
switch to his old Scotty Cameron
yeah.
and allowing the putter to flow, all of a
Hmm.
sudden he's dropping everything. And there was a rumor going around and they asked Rory about it, and apparently it's true. Augusta National, Rory went there right before the match play and played a couple practice rounds. And in one practice round, he only had 19 putts, Bobby.
Wow, I read that.
That's
Yeah, I did read that.
unbelievable. At
Either he
Augusta
was.
National.
I know that is crazy at Augusta. I mean, he obviously must have been. He must have been stuffing it that day, but still 19 putts, even if you're stuffing it. I mean, it's Augusta, right? I
Yeah.
mean, the greens are nothing like they're going to be here next week, but still, you got to. It's brutal. The greens are brutal there. It's too bad everybody doesn't get a chance to go there and step on those greens and see those slopes and
Oh, it's
the
unreal.
short it brings out the masters of the short game out there too, dude. I'm getting excited for it. It doesn't look like I'm going to be there unless the Red Sea parts right
Come on.
here in San Antonio. Come on, one time horsey go. So yeah, I couldn't get into the third place match, but of course the
Oh,
big thing I want to know before that third place match is, look at these two big fucking rich motherfuckers got to go out there and play for fucking. I wouldn't even call it the walk of shame when you're making well over $1 million, but really, do you want to be there? Do you want to be there until you show up
no.
on the first tee and it's like, oh,
But,
it's Scotty Scheffler and
yep.
it's Rory McIlroy, and they do want to beat each other? But I was looking at like what the difference was financially, and I think I came up with like $225 or $275,000 was the difference between winning the third place match or not. So that's probably a little motivation. I'm sure Scotty Scheffler, from what I'm read and the way that I know him, is that I feel like he's still grounded financially, if you know what I mean, that he
Yep.
is not going to be elevating to that,
I don't
and I
think it's
don't
his
want to.
personality to.
No, it's not his personality, and I would say Rory is that's not really Rory's personality either. He just happens to be that rich,
Yeah.
right? Where it's just part of the deal. It comes with being part of the deal. But I don't think he's like, flamboyant like Johnson Kepka or something like that. They're totally different people. So over 200 grand, and those two guys, those two racehorses show up on the first tee. They want to kick each other's
Oh,
ass,
they
that's for sure. And the
they
fans
want
want to
those
see that
bragging
match.
rights. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
want
those
bragging
egos
rights for
come in.
sure. Yeah, for
Now,
sure, for
my
sure.
favorite Scotty Scheffler line that came
Hmm.
from this week was,
Hmm.
it's none of my business what other people think of me because he's
Yeah.
gotten so much criticism about being boring. And as a number one
Yeah.
golfer, there's just no flair to him. It's like you get
Yeah.
him talking, he's just a normal average guy. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
nothing really substance wise, but that made me really appreciate him that, man, this guy
Yeah.
really does have his head on his
Yeah.
shoulders to where he doesn't
Yeah.
need to listen to the outside noise, and he's just him. And he's got a great wife who, I mean, they seem like a very cute, stable couple and everything. And that's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's got a great life and a great future ahead of him. And I mean, shout out to him because gosh, that the foot move and everything and him
Yeah.
dancing around, it's definitely a different type of golf swing, and he's made it work, and it's turned him into really the number one golfer in the world. Him, Rahm, Rory, I mean, those guys all have the right to
Yeah.
kind of be right there in that conversation for the top golfer in the world. But man, I can't wait for the Masters coming up in 2 weeks, Bobby.
I know.
Gosh
It's going
darn
to
it,
be
let's
great.
Rory might
I
get
know.
his first. Oh my
He
goodness.
could. It's going to be a good ones with the little live twist in there too. I know CBS printed something today or yesterday saying that there wasn't going to be any different coverage. They weren't going to like blackball the live guys or anything like that, which remains to be seen on how they're. But I don't think they're going to get overly viewed, let's say on television, unless one of them's in the mix and just happens to be there, which I
Right.
honestly don't. I don't see. Man, it's pretty shitty. There's 18 of them that I don't see. Let's be honest. Who of the live guys
Cam Smith.
can
That's
win?
the only one.
DJ, possibly DJ if he gets it going. He's won there. He's
Yeah,
had
but
some
I
great
don't think
finishes there.
DJ's in form.
Yeah. No, he's not in form. Fuck, he's got 200
Cam
million
doesn't look in
reasons.
form.
Yeah, Cam doesn't look in form either. These guys are getting throttled on the live tour. I mean, let's just call
That's
a spade a
true.
spade. They're getting throttled on the fucking live tour right now, bro. Fuck. That's not good. That's not
No,
good. So
it's
I
not good.
I don't look, I don't I think it'd be awesome if they just got skunked, right? Completely skunked. Like
You would
not
love
one of
it.
them. Yeah, if not one of them got a top 10. But the bad thing, the good news for them, there's only 80 some guys in the field. I think this year, I think it's like one of the smallest Masters field there is, 88 guys or something like that. What a great top 16 ties too. It's almost impossible not to make the cut there. It really, it's really, it's almost
It's a
impossible not
valid
to.
point.
But anyways, what else you got?
Well, we had last week also another recap, which we didn't
Yeah,
spend much time on because we
Puntacana.
didn't really study it that
Yeah,
much. But the
turned out to be a pretty
Corellas,
good field.
it did. The Corellas Puntacana Championship. Who would have thunk
Yeah,
it? I mean,
yeah,
Matt
I would have
Wallace.
known.
So this is where I was going with the lads at the sheds
How
getting into it.
funny.
Sometimes you just gotta have it out, and you just need to let it out to where you know Matt Wallace and his caddy last week, we were talking about it. They got into it to where the Frenchie, you said it, he's the nicest
Yeah,
guy and
yeah.
lets Wallace
Oh,
just walk all over him. But man, did he
yeah.
stand his ground last week. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden this week, Matt Wallace comes out and wins the fucking golf tournament.
Oh
That
my
is
God.
not surprising. Think about it, Bobby. In other sports, the guy who, the Allen Iversons of the world, the Michael Jordans. I mean, when Michael Jordan didn't start for his high school team, look what ended up happening to him. Went out, worked harder. But sometimes those ego guys, or I shouldn't say ego guys because it's not all ego guys, the guys with really great talent that are in their own heads sometimes. And those are the guys that complain. They're the ones that are like, oh, this is bullshit. I shouldn't have to practice, that type of stuff. Sometimes they need somebody to stand up to them, a strong coach who's
Yeah,
going to sit there and tell them and get right back in their face and tell them, you know what? Shut the fuck up. You need to
yeah,
go and work hard. This is not about, you deserve anything. You don't
yeah,
deserve shit. You got to go out there and earn it. You got to dig it in the dirt. You got to go out and find it. And I think that might be a little bit of that. It's not ironic. Now, granted, Matt Wallace was playing good last week as well. But coming into this week, after having that and being out there in front of the media, there's two ways that could have gone. He could have
yeah,
collapsed and all of a sudden let all the pressure from really being in the spotlight with that whole thing come to
yeah,
fruition to where all of a sudden he plays like shit and all of a sudden he disappears. Or he's the
Yeah.
type of player that, that resonated with him. And it makes him want to work harder, makes him want to focus a little bit more, makes him not feel like, oh, I need to constantly be blaming myself. These things happen. This is
Yeah.
what golf is. You're going to get a bad break. You're going to get a bad hop.
Yeah.
You're going to make bad decisions. But at the end of the day, if you can be better at your decision making and really get a couple lucky bounces here and there, there's a chance you could win it at the end of the week if you keep the right mindset. And
Yeah.
certainly that really came in to play there. So again, not surprising he won, but we did have a fan question come in from Cody in Arizona, and he
Hmm.
asks, and I want you to answer this one for us because
Okay.
you're the expert on this. Where does he rank on the Tour Caddies list of favorite players? So I think that's a little bit of a backwards one to
What?
where is he if
That's like to get paired with,
so I'm going to go
or
on a limb of if you were to take that bag, for instance, like where would he be on that list of players that you really don't want to caddy for? Would he be in the
oh,
top five?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. That's a good man. That is a good question when you shine the light on it that way. Yeah, yeah, I would say Cody. He's officially in the top five. Hey, let me tell you something about Matt Wallace. He's a world class player. He's been a world class player for a long, long time. It's just people over here don't know about Matt Wallace, and nobody gives a fuck about what Matt Wallace does, honestly, unless that thing blew up last week. But we all know what a world class ball striker he is, and we all know he's a fucking complete psychopath on the golf course. And I can tell you that he has had some of the world's best European tour caddies work for him, and they have gone on record saying, they do 2 or 3 weeks and they go right to the cage and cash in their chips because he's a miserable prick on the golf course. And that's a quote from them, Cody. He's a miserable prick. But I told you I have a little bit of a relationship with him, and
Yeah.
he is a workaholic. He's a complete professional golfer. He practices, I wouldn't say night and day, but he is a very high quality practicer. Let's put it that way. He's a perfectionist, and you can't help but, even though there are miserable pricks, so to speak, that there's a lot of good in there, right? There's a lot of good in there, if that makes any sense. And I think he's a good guy off the golf course, but he's a top five. Stay away from. It's funny. Last year here at this tournament in San Antonio, we got paired with him the first 2 days. He hit it everywhere. I think he shot 82 one day. He might have gone like 80, 82, and it was the first week Frenchie had came over to the States to caddy for Matt over here. And it's funny, I was thinking to myself after Matt won, I'm like, God, I wonder if, because those first 2 days when Matt's beating you up and he's shooting 82 or 80, and it's so bad, it's nothing the caddy can control when they're shooting that number, right? Something's really broken. And I bet Frenchie was thinking to himself that way, because he's like, oh, if I could come over here, I'll go for this shit. Fucking wine and champagne is so bad here. I can't even get fucked up. And now look, they're going to fucking Maui, right? So
Yeah.
good for them. The Frenchie's a nice dude, and Matt's a good dude, and it's just there's so many Matt Wallaces out here, right? I hate to say it's not, I'm not going to call them JV events with so much talent, because I've said that before on some of these things, but that wasn't like a real full blown JV event or anything like that. There were guys on form that are really, really world class players in that field. So good for him, man. His whole year just changed, right? His whole year just
Yeah.
changed. I mean, that's not the full FedEx Cup points, but that's, it's the race to get into the top 50 now, or at least the top 70, that's for sure. But the top 50 is the number. Nobody even thinks with all of these changes being made, nobody thinks 125 anymore to keep your card. You think a top 50 or top 70. So congratulations to Matt. Well done. Pretty good field. My trainer was in there. It looked like he was going to win there for a few minutes.
Bobby's player to watch.
Wyndham Clark. I'm still going to be on that bandwagon again. Oh man, he's gonna pop. He's gonna pop pretty soon too. You know what a fun. You want to make a good, just random penny bet?
Maybe.
You can take Cameron Young, and I'll take Wyndham Clark, and I'll say that Wyndham Clark pops his cherry before Cameron Young. What do you think
Wow.
about
Deal.
that?
Deal.
How's that for stupidity?
Deal. Love that.
I am the king of that.
Yeah, 1,000
Just
pennies. Love it.
I'm down 80,000 pennies, man. That sounds like a heavy bag right there. So everybody needs to know that as soon as somebody gets stuck, 100,000 pennies.
And then
They
the
got to
letter
pay
comes from
up.
the PGA Tour.
So I don't think they care about
No,
pennies, to tell you the truth.
I mean, we're in this business together, Bobby. I don't think that there's really a
Yeah,
fair, or let's put it this way. I don't think I register as a bookie or as a betting site. So that's
yeah,
I think you're in the clear on that one. Also, with the fact of the Valero Texas Open as we move into that side of things, we've got
yeah.
another decent field here to where it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Puntacana Corrales Championship, and
Uh,
that's my bad, by the way. Last
Much
week,
better. Yeah,
much
much
better,
better.
but
This
that's
one's
my
much
bad
better.
last week to where I was saying it's a bunch of the older guys that, that haven't won
Yeah,
in a long time
yeah,
that are kind of hanging on. And then you got some Corn Ferry guys. Well, no, I was wrong because as you looked at that leaderboard at the end of the day, there was a lot of top players up there. And obviously, Wyndham Clark, your guy, finished sixth at
yeah.
15 under. But no, this week is another strong week. That's what I was trying to get to. Last week was strong, but this week is also strong, and a little bit stronger than last week's. Anyways, I'm rambling on that. We've
That's
got a lot
okay.
of great players in this Valero Texas
Yeah,
Open, and it is the last event before the Masters, and it's the last chance to get into the Masters, right?
it is. So that's always exciting. JJ Spawn, got it done last year, and the next thing you know, when if you're on that winning bag and he's not in, you go through all your stuff that goes with winning a golf tournament, and he does all his media, and then Bolero has their jet waiting for you at a private airport, and it jets you and some other guys
Oh,
that are
that's
in the field of the
sick.
Masters over the yeah. It goes back and forth all day long, right? Isn't that pretty cool?
That is
They
cool.
make 2 or 3 runs. So, excuse me, I've been lucky to be on it a couple times. It's pretty cool when you're going to Augusta and you're in a big old Valero private jet and having a cocktail or something like that. So yeah, it is the last chance for Troy, for me, for 95, 98, 100. I would say 98% of the field, right? So I was asking you this: some guys like playing. A handful of guys like playing the week before a master. So in this field, who would that be? That'd be
Siwoo
if you
Kim.
Siwoo. Oh yeah, Siwoo loves this place. Oh no, I'm not going to speak too much. Is that Siwoo?
You
See that?
blew it.
You
You
see that
blew
rock? If
it.
it would be on over your right shoulder right there. See, the year that Siwoo finished third there, we were leading all week. We weren't going to win. Corey Connors won, and we were trying to finish second, and we hit it in the right trees. I want to say the right trees or the right rough, and he pulls out a 3-wood, right? And I'm like, where fucking get the horsey to the barn. We're not going to win. Where are you going? He goes, I think I can get this on green. I'm like, what are you? There's a fucking creek that runs up there. How's this thing going to come out? It ends up somehow it bounces over through the creek and it ends up on the top of that rock right there. I don't know if you remember ever seeing this on TV. And he plays the next shot off the rock. You want to see some
Oh, I'm
crazy
gonna
body
go
language
watch
from
it.
me? You got to watch this because I think they made a deal about it on TV. Because number one, I was like, what are you doing? Now I'm putting my foot down, right? And finally, he sold me that he could. It was both of us standing on the rock. He goes, look, the lie's perfect. I go, you're on a rock. Of course it's fucking perfect. It's like being on a car path, but you can't go with the flag. Something bad could happen. You could stub it first, and he goes, just get the fuck out the way, bro. We're not going to win. Just let me hit shot, right? So he hit it up there to like 30 feet, two putted, and got out of there with third place finish. He got to go on the Valero jet, but Siwoo Kim's going to be sneaky tough this week. So I just gave you some info right there. He loves this
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
And I do
Okay.
love me some
So
Siwoo
so
Kim.
Siwoo, Terrell Hatton, Hideki. There's a couple others, right, that are playing Gusta next week. Those are the three that come to mind. Do you
Those are the
know?
three that came to my mind too. I do
Okay,
not know
gotcha.
who else is in there.
Oh, there's an Asian here, Kazumi, um, uh, something Kazumi Nakaja or something like that. He's in the
Nakajara.
field too. Yeah, 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 yeah. I know who this kid. This I shouldn't say kid. I think he's in his mid 20s, but he's about 5'4". He doesn't even look like he belongs when he's on the range, and then he goes out and plays golf, and he can get it done. And he's going to the Masters. He's in the Masters next week. So
I remember a kid like that
Valero,
in high school.
yeah,
I think he was 4'8" and he had
yeah,
to hit driver 3-wood into every par four.
yeah.
But man, he made par and birdies from off the green like you would not believe.
Gotcha. Bro, it was blowing. We went and played. It's very rare you go play a practice round and there's nobody on the golf course. It was blowing 40 out there. It was blowing 40 today, gusting up to 50 and 60, like spooky, like spooky wind, right? And you couldn't, it was so strong, you couldn't hold the bag up on the range. Like when your player's warming up, right? You had to have a stiff arm on the bag and try and clean the club at the same time. So I'm like, how many holes are we playing today? And he's like, 18. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? We're playing 18 holes and it's blowing fucking 50, right?
Now,
I
do
thought
you
we were
need
starting to,
Cialis for that stiff arm?
no, I'm
After
just
4 hours of that stiff arm, you got to go to the hospital,
well,
Bobby.
no, I don't mean carrying it. I mean the hard part is on the range when he's warming up for
Yeah,
30
you're
or
just
40
holding on
shots
to it.
and the bat, yeah, you
Yeah.
just want to lay it on the fucking ground and throw the clubs in and go,
Yeah,
oh,
why
fucking,
don't you?
I'll clean them later. No, that's no, we all have a process out there. You got to look the part. You got to look the part.
Got to
So,
act like you've
anyways,
been there before.
I was gonna tell you about our practice round. It's blowing fucking 40, gusting up to 50 and 60 out there, and we are in a slump right now, right? So I'm not. Bobby's watching him make bogeys out there left and right, which anybody's gonna make bogeys left and right, in that kind of wind. And I'm like, what are we doing out here? You know, God, this is not where we need to be. We need to be over at the chipping green. So, I've been making this 10 and 15-minute bet with him when
Yeah.
in our bogey games during the rounds. And so I've stockpiled 80 minutes worth of practice time, right? So we're on number 5 today or something, and he's got this pin high little chip shot, and it's just a little, maybe a 54 or a shut down a little bit, 58 or something like that, a little chunk and run out there and let it feed. And he pulls out 9 iron, and I'm like, what's with all these mad scientist short game decisions that he's making right now, And he runs it by like 15 feet or something like that. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw the stick was like behind me, and I saw the stick go like this, because a 60-mile-an-hour gust go like that. And I'm like, God, that doesn't look fucking safe right there. And he gets up and he marks his ball because we're playing the bogey game. And I'm smiling. He goes, what are you smiling at? I go, well, I saw that flag bend out of the corner of my eye. He goes, you see that? And I go, yeah, that was kind of fucking creepy. I go, I had a thought. And he goes, what was your thought? And I go, well, my thought was, what the fuck are we doing out here right now? What is to accomplish? He goes, I was thinking the same thing. And I go, I'm cashing in my minutes on the chipping green, right? So, and I go, and I'm in fucking control. I'm in command. I'm getting back to my roots, to what I've always done with young players, and has always reaped dividends. Now I'm doing it with a 30-some-year-old, and I think he's giving me the green light to do this. I touched on it before, but I just went out there and I'm like, I dropped 6 balls here, certain shots that I wanted to see, that identify some bumps and some throwing it up in the air, a bunch of bunker shots and that kind of stuff. So it counted like, 80. I had him chip 80 some balls or something like that, and I thought that was a pretty productive day. So I walked out of there going like, oh, I feel good. This day turned out feeling okay. But the tough thing when you play a practice round in those conditions is not just your flight or your golf ball or the club you're going to hit. It's the fucking 3-footers and the 4-footers, which has been an Achilles for him for some months now. He's out there slapjacking these things, and he's like, God, I hit a good putt. I'm like, it's blowing fucking 60 right now. It's blowing fucking 60. Slapjacking these putts around and hitting them 5 times.
That's
You're
my new
1 for
favorite
5
term.
for 5. Yeah, slapjack. Fucking
Every time
slapjack.
I see a short missed spot,
Yeah,
fucking slapjacked it again.
slapjack that thing around. So course was fucking firm. Course was firm and fast. I will tell you that. We're supposed to get some rain on. We're supposed to get some rain on Thursday, and we got a little. Those 9 and 9 pro-ams, where the amateurs get to play with two different pros. So we go at like 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So I get to see the backside a little bit more tomorrow and check it out. But it's a good layout, right? There's danger. There's danger everywhere off the trees. It's Texas Hill country, It's a bunch of 8 and 10 foot trees everywhere. If you miss a fairway on a certain side by 8 or 10 yards, this is where that famous hole, I think it was number 9, where Kevin Na made like a 17 on one hole, refused to give up, remember? So that kind of shit can happen out here. And I told you I've had good luck with there. Troy made a fucking run. Troy made a big run on the backside when JJ Spawn won there last year, and I think we found ourselves one off the lead with 3 to go, and we were a couple groups in front of them, and we made a bogey on 16, a pretty cool par 3, and then 17 is a drivable hole, and he was way off kilter and made like a 15-footer to save par. And it's like, after on 18, it's like, God, well, let's just fucking make par and get the fuck out of here. It was a nice little rush for a while. But usually I carry my old pin sheets. Like, people that don't know, we get daily pin sheets, right? So for years, as a day, that's where I document everything. It'll show you a whole location, and it'll be 23 on and 4 from the right. So when I get a front number. I write 138 on top of that, and then I go 24, and it could be, it's 62, and I'm writing what club he hits, and I have an arrow next to that club if it's like a 7-iron, if it was down off the right, if it was more, 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock. We're high tech on documenting shit like that. So it's funny, while I was blowing out there 50, somehow I was looking at these things, and I was like, oh, I remember we birdied this hole on Saturday, and I was looking at the number we had and that kind of stuff, kind of channeling in some good thoughts there. Remember I was telling you, this is kind of a San Antonio Siwoo story, but remember I was telling you one of my favorite rounds, best round I've ever seen, was Siwoo at Riviera some years ago when I was blowing like 30 or 40. I think my second favorite round was Siwoo out here on a Friday, shot 7 or 8 under, made a hole in one there on 16. Listen to this. Siwoo Kim in
I feel like
2018
you are fucking baiting me right
listen
now.
to this. No, I'm going to tell you this funny story. He makes a 1, right, on 16. The next day he hits to like 3 inches on 16. It looks like it's going in. Another day he hit it to like 8 inches. It looked like it was going in. And then I think the last day he hit it to like 2 feet or 2.5 feet. He literally was inside 4 feet in 4 shots with a hole in one. So if he's over his whole Cooch disaster of getting throttled by Cooch and pitching it, which maybe that was his way of going, well, I'm going to get ready for San Antonio. I'm not going to win this match. Let's just get the fuck out of here, and I'm going to make some bogeys and go home and see my wife and rest up. And he's going to be tough to beat here. It's a good golf course. Pearson Cootie's in the field. We're pretty stoked about that. Me and you and my roommate here. You see my decor back here? See, Junior picked out the Airbnb this week.
It's actually pretty nice. I mean, there's no broken,
it's okay.
Broken microwaves or anything like that.
Pictures are always better on Airbnb for the most part than when you get here, and it's fun. It's fine, but the kid did good. $1,000 all in. There's 3 of us in here, $333 each, and he was director. He's director getting the rental car, and he's got this. What's the big old? Is it? I don't think it's the Lincoln Continental one, but the Ford Expedition, like this pimped out Ford Expedition, and I'm like, hey, we're partners on this rental car. This better not be over $300. He's like, Dad, I got upgrade to the upgrade card. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, you're starting to sound like all those fucking caddies that you don't like, and I got upgraded. I'm diamond elite platinum status. I got a code, bro. Save you 20%. I got a code. I hear it every morning. I just want to plug my ears as
That's
I'm
like me last week with the app.
yeah. You want to hear a funny caddy discount code story down memory lane? So there's this big Avis code or national rent. It's an Avis code that all these caddies were sharing, right? That if you booked and you popped in the code and they never check for ID. Remember this part of the story? They never check for ID. You get holiday rental cars down from $600 down to like $270 or $280 all in, these phenomenal things. So Lori's got status with Avis. We took our 2 little boys to go to La Quinta, but I could get cheap flights into LAX, and we would just drive over the 2.5 hours I told them I was going to take. That took like 5 hours on the Friday traffic. So I booked this car for Lori in the code, and I want to get the big 4Runner or something like that, right? And I'm like, oh my God, $880. What about this code? I put in the code 470, right? I'm like, I'm fucking in for the week for 470. So I give this code. So we get off the plane after traveling with these 2 alums. You have to take a 15-minute shuttle at LAX over to Avis, right? Yeah. There is a fucking line coming out the door. She's bent. It's under her name. The kids are on tilt. All they want is In-N-Out Burger that they can see on the corner, but you don't fucking cross that corner in LA ever. So she finally gets up there, and I'm sitting there with the boys, and all of a sudden I just lock eyes with her, and she turns around and she goes, Bob, can we speak with you for a moment? I felt like my mom was yelling at me in 6th grade. And I walk over there, and the guy goes, you got any ID for this aerospace code? And I go, what? I go, do I look like I work for fucking aerospace as I'm fucking pulling on my 9-year-old's hair? And he goes, yeah, this is an aerospace code. And I go, a quick thinker I am. And I'm like, oh man, I'm with the PGA Tour. I show him my badge. I go, we were given this code at the start of the year. And he goes, no, we got a different PGA Tour code. This is aerospace. So I'm like, Lori, oh, these fucking caddies gave me an aerospace code. And so he's like, it's going to be $130 more. I'm like, we'll fucking take it. So I'll never forget, we get in the car, and Lori goes, don't start fucking with that code bullshit ever again if I'm involved. So
Oh,
I,
I can only
that's I,
imagine.
I don't
She
even
was
know if that's
slightly
funny or
embarrassed about
stupid.
that one.
Yeah. Arrow. Do I look like I'm fucking work for aerospace? Fucking
Dude, that was a great
jackass.
story, Bobby. I love the discount codes. You guys are hustlers out there as caddies, man.
God,
You're
you have
just
no
finding every
idea.
way to save some money, get
You have
that back
no
to the
idea.
family, back home. You're sending
Yes.
checks.
Yeah, you have no idea what really
It's
goes on in that
awesome.
cat A room. Anyways,
Well,
where were we in the show?
we're to the penny bet.
Well, oh yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
So
Champion. You're the champion.
I am the champion. I am the three-time champion. Because last
You're
week I won every single bet, which we had three of them. And the week before that, we were all even. So I'm up
yes.
to 80,000 pennies, which or no, 8,000 pennies, sorry. And I'm pretty excited about this. I'm going to go. I know that you were hyping up your guy, and I felt like you were baiting me, but at the same time, you're accurate. You're throwing out real facts and real statistics.
Yes, it's
As
true.
you were
It's
talking
true.
about it, I was kind of looking into it. But I will say this. I am going to stick with my original gut instinct, and I'm going with Ricky Fowler.
That's a good pick. Okay, I'll go with that. Are you sitting down right now?
I am.
Are you sitting down? I am going to go with somebody that they call in his home country Kim Si Woo.
I knew that one was
last
coming.
names last names always first. My second pick was going to be Cooch. I was going to get on the Cooch
Okay.
train
All
too
right.
because Cooch plays good. I think Cooch was in the final
See,
group here with JJ Spawn
I
last
was
year.
between Ricky Fowler and Pearson Cootie because I really
Yeah,
liked Pearson Cootie.
yeah,
Do you want a
yeah. Of course.
secondary bet to this?
No,
A
no,
little
no,
Pearson
because we
Cootie
got.
versus Matt
Can we get
Kuchar?
to the good part of the
Yeah.
show, please? My favorite
We
part
are
of the show.
finally there. We are
We're got more
finally
action.
there. We've got more action, which this involves Live Golf, and this is now our Live Golf Orlando segment. But it's because
Yes.
Live Golf kicked the PGA Tour out of Mayakoba because Greg
Oh
Norman
yeah,
was the
yeah.
golf course architect of Mayakoba. And so now, just announced today, is that the PGA Tour is moving to, once again, Mexico, but they're going to one of my favorite places, which is Cabo. And in
Yeah.
Cabo, you're going to be at Diamante. So when I was working in
Okay.
golf simulators and over at Full Swing, and we installed it because Tiger was one of the investors that came in to Full Swing. So he was an investor, and sure enough, we ended up putting in golf simulators down in this brand new property in Cabo called Diamante. So you guys are going to be at
Wow.
Diamante, and that is a hell of a
Yeah.
property. Have you been down there before, Bobby?
No, I
Oh,
never
you're in
have.
for a
Never been to
treat.
Cabo. Jesus, don't tell. I hope Lori doesn't look at the schedule for next year. You
This
know,
is
that's
going to be
part of the,
awesome.
it's a fall series. It's a fall series event too, right? So they just released to all of us the official qualifications and eligibility requirements. There was like a big memo that came out to all of us. So that being a fall event, I'm going to explain to everybody what the big deal is now. Obviously, the big deal is to be in the top 50, right? Because the top 50 guarantees you all the designated events, elevated
Oh,
designated events next year, right? But it also guarantees you into the second, I believe, into the second playoff event. You're guaranteed into that too. So, and then the top 70 will get into the first playoff event and will retain, we'll keep their number, their priority number next year. 71 through 200 play the fall events. And they are jockeying for their position to move up or down on the FedEx Cup and retain status, but they can't get better than 70. The top 70s are already set. Does that make any sense? So
yep.
Tigers of this event at Diamante is going to be a fall event. Not that it's going to take away any luster from it, but the fact is that guys in the top 50 and the top 70 can play in fall events if they choose to, but they won't be rewarded FedEx Cup points for that. It will strictly be to win the championship or world ranking, the money and that kind of stuff. So that's going to be a little different next year. I'm like not knocking that tournament, but
No, it's
that
going
would
to
be a
be
great
awesome,
place to.
Bobby. I'm telling you right now,
Yeah,
there's two tournaments that I have on my calendar circled now, and
yeah.
one was Silverado up in Napa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Trying to get up there this year. We've got a place
Mm-hmm.
already. We're going to be flying in, and then just because of this, and because I love
Mm-hmm.
Cabo so much, I've now
Yeah.
circled Cabo on the calendar. I hope to see you there, Bobby. I
Well,
hope to see
I
you
will
there.
say this. I will say this. That my whole point on that is this tournament being in Cabo? How exciting is that? What is you want to go, but you don't want to go? If that makes any sense,
It
or
does.
I should
It's
say it
like
the other way.
Puntacana.
You don't want to go, but you want to go. But that would be a great place to take Lori to get away for a week if we have to play the fall. And if we don't make a big ass fucking rally here, we're going to probably be down there in Punta Cana. So
Well, I'll see
I'll
you
send
there.
you I'll send you a postcard. I'll
No,
send
I'm
you a
gonna be
postcard.
there. I will see you there.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
I'm making a vacation out of it, Bobby.
Okay.
Here we
Gotcha.
go. So now actually getting into the Orlando event, which is
Yes.
going to be at Bobby Brown's favorite golf course of
Jesus.
all
What a
time,
shithole.
the Crooked Cat at Orange County National. Bobby,
National.
tell us why this is your favorite golf course.
Well, I'll tell you why, because I had the pleasure of watching guys back when Q school was 6 days long get their ass handed to them. I worked it numerous times, and I will tell you, there's obviously you just stated there's two courses there: the Cricket Cat and the Panther. And the Panther was always the host course, which was basically the course across the street if you've ever been there. And it's long and it's cold there. It's cold there in the mornings. The ball doesn't go far, and it just wears on you. It's like a big boy course. The Cricket Cat, I always thought, even scores wouldn't document this by much, but I always thought the Cricket Cat was like, oh, it's the other course, right? You're playing the other course. You have to play the other course because when they at Q school when it was 6 days, I think after 4 days they would, or yeah, after 4 days maybe they would flop courses. You know, the top half, the guys that were leading would play the Cricket Cat and then finish on the Panther and vice versa. So I was there recently, a little over a year ago, for that big money challenge that I've talked about, where the guy stiffed everybody, and I was appalled at the shape of like the driving range, the buildings around the driving range, this little shithole um, hotel motel that they have there. It's like a guy stay kind of place. You know, it's almost looks like they're prison cells next to the putting green. And the golf shop was in horrible shape. You could tell that, you know, they were hurting. They were hurting for money, and the golf course was the golf course was in terrible shape. So I don't know if this is a little throw something on the wall late and hopes it sticks when they were filling up their schedule and they're paying Orange County national money that it probably needs. You know, I heard that I'm not even going to say what I'm supposed to say, but I heard that there's might be they might there might be creditors that need to be taken care of there at Orange
Ooh.
County National. And I told you that I also read that they're keeping the other course, Panther Lake, open for regular play.
For
Now, granted,
regular play.
they have a huge like circular driving range out there. I think when the PGA shows in town, most of the product goes out there to get tested and everything. They do big shoots out there on the range, so that's the one good thing is they do have enough range to accommodate that. But I mean, fuck, man, they're playing Balderrama. And they just played the match, played that cool course, and you know Tucson Mayakoba is a great golf course. They have all these sick golf course that they're going
Well,
to. It's funny. I was a guy named Lordy, Gareth Lordy, he's Henrik Stenson's caddy, and I was talking to him about some Augusta stuff a few hours ago. And the first thing I said when he answered the phone, he's like, "Bobby, my man, what are you doing?" He's from England, and I'm like, "Are you at that dog track yet?" And he goes, "Oh, mate, you ain't kidding. Just walk that dog track. God help us." So I wanted to get. He's supposed to call me back. He hasn't called me back. I wanted to get it in his ear a little bit about, you know, what the sentiment is amongst the caddies that aren't getting any of this team money, and how many questions there are on the board and that kind of stuff, which he should have some interesting honest answers for me, and hopefully I can report back to you on that. But man, if they're
that'd
going to
be
fucking
great.
Crooked Cat,
I mean,
yeah,
they're
I
going to
don't,
Crooked Cat. But Bobby,
I
here's
don't,
my theory on it.
yeah,
So you've heard
go.
all the rumors about how they're buying up a property near Augusta and
Yeah,
how they're
Tom
going to
Watson,
build a golf course. Yeah. So that well,
Tom Watson,
that's the theory, right? Is that this Tom Watson
right?
designed golf track, which is just across the way. For people that haven't been to Augusta, don't realize South Carolina is literally a 10-minute
Yeah,
drive, like maybe.
yeah,
Um, Oh gosh, what's the golf course over there? Sage Valley, am I right on that?
yeah,
What
yeah.
yeah, so Sage Valley's right over there, and that's very much like an Augusta National type of feel to it. So yes, they can create something that has a feel to it, and I've got a feeling that if that really is that Live Golf property, that's why they're doing this Orange County National at this time of year,
hmm
because they're going to replace it next year with this golf course that's getting built. And that's going to be the prep for the guys from LIV Golf to be able to prep for Augusta National.
Takes a lot longer than a year to get a golf course in shape, doesn't it? To build a
Well,
golf
you
course and
know,
get it.
the Saudis,
Man,
there's a
I think
lot
you're
of
high.
money.
I
I
think
could
you're
be
high as
high.
shit,
Yeah,
right? I think you're
that
high
toad's
as shit.
venom.
That's an interesting. That's an interesting one, man. If it
Or
comes
maybe it's for 2
true,
years, Bobby.
yeah,
That could be.
I don't think Tom Watson would do something would attach his
I
name.
don't either. That's what was weird
Yeah,
about that rumor
yeah.
about that one, but there are a lot of rumors that they're buying up
Well, maybe it's
property.
some. Well, you know the story about the guy who started Sage Valley, right? He tried to get
Yep,
into Augusta. He couldn't get into Augusta, so he's like, "Well, I got enough money. I'm going to make my own little mini Augusta." So
exactly.
maybe this is a spawn off of something like that too. That somebody with some
And it
money
might
and
not even be, right?
yeah,
It
it
might not even
might just be a
be
golf course.
associated with LIV Golf, but apparently the Saudis are buying up property. So that's where the rumor
Yeah.
kind of ties in to that golf course being designed by Tom Watson. Is this the one that's being bought by the Saudis, or are the Saudis buying land other areas and haven't started building the golf course yet? So these
Hmm.
are all rumors and theories that are out there, right? But I do think that in order to be fair to the LIV Golf guys, if I am the Saudis and running this LIV Golf and Greg Norman and so forth, that you got to give them a great golf track to go play the week before
Yeah.
Augusta. You can't throw them out there Crooked Cat. I mean, just the
Yeah.
name alone, it's a crooked damn
Yeah.
cat. I mean, look at their
I don't.
logo.
Wow, man. If you went out there, you would laugh. You would fucking laugh. You know, the first. I can quote the holes. The first hole's a modified par five. That's real tough for those guys to hit the fair. I will say this thing. Did get through Q school there in 2007, though, at
Hmm.
the Panther Lake and the Cricket Cat with his dad on the bag. So I can tell you that maybe he. You know, but me and you were discussing. I mean, how good? Let's just get into the players right now. I mean, how
Yeah.
good is Dustin Johnson right now? Anyways, I mean, that is the Cricket Cat is bottom line. The Cricket Cat is they're a tournament they have to play in the week before Augusta. You know, and I don't think they can get nobody's course can really get greens to be to like Augusta's speed. You know, there's a reason there's only 4 or 5
Mm,
guys here. You
I
know,
would say at Butch's facility, because I was
yeah.
there
Well,
when
you could if you
they
tricked it up.
they trimmed down those putting greens that
Yeah,
Butch has out there,
yeah, yeah.
and those things were probably running faster than Augusta. Like that, it was almost like
Well,
pavement because he would
yeah,
do
they
it for
probably
Adam
don't have
Scott.
they probably don't have the well, yeah, Butch they did that. They do that. Butch does do that for sure. That's a famous story that Butch gets that green. It's actually the putting green that he
Yep,
gets going, right? Gets the
exactly.
putting green going. But that putting, I've been on that putting green 100 times. You know, it doesn't have the slopes that Augusta
No.
has either, right? If you get it on the wrong side. So I think it's comical that these are so-called world-class players are playing fucking Orange County National for fucking 20 million to the winner. So, and me and you were talking, how many guys out of that 18 guys in Augusta can win? Cam or DJ, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
those are the two guys that stand
yeah,
out, and yet are they
both off
informed?
form, both
Yeah.
off form, you know. So it'll be interesting to see how they play this week. I wouldn't know who to pick out there. I fucking sure wouldn't pick fat ass fucking Perez because he's historically struggled on Florida golf courses. You know, he doesn't play any good in Florida. So only thing going for him is I know that with those guys not getting the team money, the free team money like they were getting before, is that maybe it lit a excuse me, it lit a little fire under his ass and he's probably being a little not woe is me right now, and he's probably working a little bit harder. I don't
Well,
know.
Andy
It's
listened to our
possible.
podcast, so you got that going for him to where he had some bulletin board material coming from us. So hopefully,
Hmm.
maybe that sparked a little spark under his ass. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Mm.
At the end of the day, when you're listening to this podcast and you're getting absolutely reamed by Matt and Bobby Brown, it's
Yeah.
and granted, my name's
You're not.
not Matt Brown, but I'm Matt Cook, and this is Bobby Brown. And when you get roasted by us, it
Yeah.
probably adds to some
It's well
good bulletin
deserved.
board material. Very well deserved.
Yeah.
I mean, we've
Yeah.
got a
It's
story
well
here at the end
deserved.
that we'll talk about that a
Sure.
fan requested. So we'll get into that a little bit more.
Let's
But
do our picks. Let's do our picks.
well, you got hang on. There's an additional
Oh, what else?
news. The
What
reserve
is?
players
Oh yeah, Andy's in.
I'm sorry.
Andy
I
Ogletree. That's all
I
right.
I wanted to build it up like this is some big thing, but it's really not. You
Yeah.
got Andy
No,
Ogletree
it's
and
not.
Laurie Cantor are
Yeah.
filling in into the
Yeah.
48 player field. So
Yeah.
Ogletree is going to be playing for the Crushers, and he's the
Yeah.
replacement for Anaban Lahiri, who's injured or taking a break.
Right.
We don't know. And then Cantor is making his third straight live golf appearance for Martin Keimer, who had wrist surgery. So there you go.
Right.
You've got that going, and he's going to be playing for the Cleeks Golf Club. And yeah, that's all I got there. But let's get into
Well,
our golf picks, but louder, Bobby. And this is
yeah.
where we pick each week that Live Golf is actually playing because they only play a few events and they only play
Hmm.
54 holes. But just like Live Golf, where we want it to be golf picks, but louder. We're picking the worst players and the worst team that we feel like are going to finish last.
Yeah.
So, Bobby, you won the individual last time. I can't say last week because they take weeks off. They go on vacations and then they come back and they play really bad golf. Well, I shouldn't say bad golf, average golf again for pros. We can see Corn Ferry Tour players shoot lower rounds, but that's not a part of this. This is golf picks but louder, and you've
What are
got the
you
first
talking about?
individual pick.
I do. I am going to stick with my hot player,
God
Siwon
damn it.
Kim.
This is like cheating, man. It's literally like fucking cheating. This is not like so if anybody has ever bet on the worst player, which I'm learning
So
very
fun.
quickly
It's
that
so fun.
it's not only a blast, but there's a real science to this, and it's a lot easier than picking a winner. I'll tell you that
Well,
much.
my man Siwon Kim, if I know my numbers, and I usually know my numbers pretty good, has been pretty good lately. He's 40 over par in two events. So I'm going to stick with the hot hand here and go with Siwon Kim on that
Wow,
powerful
see Juan
Kevin Na
Kim.
team.
You know what was very surprising for me to
What?
see is that do you know who's in third to last?
Who?
Lee Westwood. That's a
Yeah,
surprising one. That's not,
yeah. It's all the 50
he's
year olds.
yeah,
It's
he's
all the
heading
50-year olds.
overboard. But no, I got a great pick for you here.
Okay.
Jedediah Morgan.
Ooh, this
Jedediah
is going to be a good one.
Morgan.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm
We're
watching
yeah.
Yellowstone right now.
We are
Jedediah.
picking from the bottom of the barrel, my friend. This is like
Little house
shooting
on the
fish in a
prairie.
barrel.
Little house on the prairie. Jedediah, you fetch me some water.
Come on, Jedediah. Okay, so oh my god, I'm
Yeah,
losing everything
yeah,
here.
that's okay.
I'm freaking out. Now, the second part to our golf picks but louder is the
The
worst
worst
team.
team. Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
this week I am going with a classic. I'm gonna go with Ripper GC this week.
Who's
Ripper.
on the Ripper GC?
Yeah.
Who's on the Ripper GC? Tell
Well,
me. Do you
I
know?
mean, yes, I do. I do.
Give me the lineup. I'll tell you
So
if you made a good
the
pick.
the Ripper GC squad, and you know why I picked them because they're down in Orlando and they're going to be ripping some stuff. But no, this is a tough one because here's the thing. I did say that Cameron Smith was out of form. It's Cameron Smith, Matt Jones, Mark Leishman,
Wow.
and Jedediah
Right.
Morgan. I know it's a
Wow.
surprising one, but there's
Yeah.
reasons behind it, and I'm not
You
going to get
think,
into it with you. We're going to
yeah,
talk
don't.
about it next week if this comes to fruition. It's kind of like
God.
me at the horse tracks, looking at
Yeah.
muddy conditions and going, "Man, the horses
Yeah.
with the big wide asses are going to win every time."
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Well, I am that's a good team you just picked. I feel like I can pick anybody and it's good. And I feel like I could pick anybody. But I'm gonna stick with Kevin Na's team because I could see Danny Lee breaking some clubs out there at
wow.
Crooked Cat because you can't overpower Crooked Cat. It's tight, it moves through some trees, it's all about angles there. We're gonna see who's gonna be able to caddy next week because nobody has any experience there. Nobody knows what they're
Well,
getting themselves into,
here's the
which means
great
some of the
thing. Let's
yeah, you
go
gotta
over
have
that team real quick. I mean, the team that
yeah,
you picked, you got Kevin Na,
yeah.
your boy, and your pick
Danny
every
Reed,
week, Siwan Kim,
see Cam.
Siwan
Yeah,
Kim,
see one.
Danny Lee, and
Yeah.
Scott Vincent.
Scott Vincent looks like he should be shredding with Rob Machado and Kelly Slater, doesn't he? Ever seen
Yes,
it? He's
he
got the
does.
long blonde. Yeah,
He's got
yeah,
the long blonde. He does
yeah.
not fit in with the Asians. Let me put it
The
that way.
Asians, there was a big Asian Korean population down in Orlando this past off week. Like Ben On lives there and Cage Lee lives there. And I was looking on social media, Kevin Nas, I follow Kev, and Kev was down there and Danny Lee were down there, and they were like celebrating Danny's big W and everything like that. So Scott Vincent just, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Doesn't fit the profile of that team. He's white and he
Not at
looks like
all.
a surfer.
Yeah.
So I wonder if Kev was down there putting $5,000 bottles of wine in front of Cage Lee or
Saying,
one of those
please,
other
God,
Koreans.
sign with
Yeah.
us so that we can just be a full
Yeah,
Asian
I
squad.
wonder. I wonder if he is just trying to put the squeeze on those guys. But he's California. He's like California through and through. Kevin Na, right? He's not really like full on Korean. So I've
Yeah,
worked
but
personally.
this goes to what Alan Shipnuck was talking about, what I was talking
Yeah,
about last week on the podcast,
yeah,
where this whole you get teams together that have regionality throughout the world. Like you get
yeah,
an
yeah,
Asian team put together, you've got an
yeah,
Australian team, you've got X, Y, and Z, right?
yeah,
That doesn't fit. And that these are the
yeah,
weak points of Live Golf to where it's
yeah,
like, man, it's tough to if you are just loving on Kevin Na, Siwon Kim, Danny Lee, you're probably
yeah,
not a big fan of Scott Vincent. Let's just put it
yeah.
that way.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's been well documented that Kev's trying to get an all Asian team anyway. So I haven't really looked at his stats over the last couple live events, but I'm guessing Scott Vincent is closer to getting relegated than he is to finishing in the top 20. Let's put it that way. So
Yeah.
we got ourselves wagers, two
We
more
we
wagers.
got it. Golf picks, but louder has
And
been
don't,
wrapped up this week.
and don't forget our running Wyndham Clark, Cameron Young, Pop the
Yeah.
Cherry bet
Yeah.
too.
We got
That
to
that
write
one's a
that
running
one
one.
down. You're right.
All right.
That is the pop the cherry bet.
Yeah.
Now, there was a fan request from
Ooh.
our boys down under to where the Black
Uh-oh.
Panther Cycling, they wanted
What?
a new PP story. So we're just going to refer to it as a PP story, okay? So
You
some
go. You
people
take
might,
one.
yeah, no, this one's me because I have
Okay.
firsthand story now
All right.
of the
Tell us some
PP
craziness.
experience, which Bobby has
Yes.
dealt with this PP experiences
For 4 years.
throughout his journey. And for me, the PP experience goes back to an episode to where PP was on a episode with another one of our favorites, a golf instructor who has a podcast, and started talking about this PGA Tour caddy, wink wink, who
Wink, wink.
all of a sudden was rumored that he stole money out of his
Yes.
hotel room, out of his wallet, cash, and it happened to be
Yes.
$800 worth of cash. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know people that just carry around $800 worth of cash all the time, but Pat Perez, good for you, okay, buddy? You were carrying it around, PP. And now, the best part of this story is the fact that on that podcast, which go and listen to it, it's fantastic to where I'm actually sending people to go listen to it because it was just a classic PP story. And the fact that he claimed that he even filed. Now he's bitching about the PGA Tour and how they did nothing about this and why Live Golf is so much better and how they're taking care of them and they've banned this caddy from Live Golf, which we still have not confirmed nor denied
All right. No, we have not.
that this has occurred. We haven't had the opportunity yet or the right person to speak with to get down to the bottom of this. But so far, PP is the only one that has shared this. And he claimed that he filed an FBI report during that time against this individual. Now, if you file an FBI report,
It is funny.
I'm going to break down. If you file an FBI report for $800, now I think he was misspeaking there, and he meant to just say like he wanted it. We call that the and we don't, but the lads who some of them had worked at Greyhawk previously, a golf property out here. Bobby knows of it, and they
Yeah.
call that a Greyhawk exaggeration. Okay,
Uh-huh.
because it was an exaggerated story. He wanted this to
Right.
really hit.
Right.
And
Right.
so I brought it up on our podcast as you were
Right.
talking about this
Yeah.
caddy that
Yeah.
it took place with. And sure enough, I died because I talked to my now wife and it just, we were dying because you don't file FBI reports for $800. Okay. They're out trying to solve real shit that's going on. Serial
Right.
killers to,
Right.
people that are corrupting the entire world. I mean, it is the FBI has a serious job to do. So we were dying about it, right? And we were talking about it on the podcast. We were laughing about it. Let's just put it this way. He has me blocked, which I mentioned on the last episode. This just absolute dumbass has me blocked, and he's trying to get in contact with me. PP, all you have to do is unblock me. That's all you have to do. So anyways, he apparently was trying to reach me at the beginning or at the end of last year. Well, PP tried to slide into my now wife's DMs and sent her the most ridiculous message, Bobby, you have ever seen. I have screenshots of it. It's fantastic. It is. Can you have, I can't even say some of the stuff or else we might get banned from YouTube. Can you have your bitch ass husband contact me? And it goes on and on, okay? Just shows the character of this guy. We've never talked before in our entire lives. And this, he sends it to my fiance at the time, now wife, and I can't tell you how much we laughed. And you and I shared a laugh in regards to it. We had our social media guy sharing laughs about it. And then he starts having other people within the industry start to say, hey, you know, my buddy PP really wants to get in contact with you. Can you reach out to PP? I'm like, sure. Just unblock me. Just unblock me. That's all you have to do. You have me blocked. You have Pull Hook Golf blocked. You have everybody blocked that could possibly get in touch with me. Obviously, you reach out. It didn't work in your favor for the DMs. Let's just put it this way. We had a lot of parodies of that message that went around internally with a lot of us to where we had such a great laugh in regards to it. So again, my message to PP out there, and this is the fan story for Black Panther Cycling, is this dumbass doesn't realize that he has me blocked. If he unblocks me, he can reach me. That's how ironic this conversation is.
He's a douchebag. What a loser. He's just a loser. He can't help himself. I told you his only way to combat everybody is when he doesn't like him. He's like, "Yeah, I'm fucking rich. You're not."
Yeah,
well, yeah, because you're really good. You're really good at golf. You know what? I couldn't.
Your bitch ass husband. Have him contact me immediately. First of all, I don't have your fucking number, PP. I don't have your number, so very easy. Unblock me. Unblock Pull Hook, and let's have a go. Let's bring you on the podcast. Fuck it. I'm down.
Speaking of that douchebag, I couldn't pull it back up again. But when I was in between flights this morning, I was scrolling through something on social media, and I guess there's this website or this company that if you are any kind of celebrity or anything like that, you can charge people money to leave them a message, like on Instagram, or send them a voicemail message or something like that. See if you can research this after the show. Something popped up that said that Pep Perez was doing it for $176. That he would leave you a message for $176. First thing that went through my mind was, did she fucking spend it all already? Can you spend that much money? $8 million already? But it's gotta be. I'm gonna research it. I'm gonna look it up after this show.
Oh, I can't wait.
We'll check it out.
Another great story to share next week.
Yeah. Keep the Aussie boys happy.
Stay tuned. We've got more stories coming. But yeah, that was a classy one. Just full character on display. And Bobby, once again, thank you for another great week. Good luck out there, and have a great week.
Thanks, man. Take care. See you, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you for tuning in to Season 2 of the Pull Hook Golf Podcast. Make sure to hit subscribe and go to www.pullhookgolf.com for more